Let's hear some applause for our students. Okay, folks, you can do better than that. Let's hear it for our graduates. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going, folks. Got more graduates coming in the door. Enough to love to go around. Let's go. Let's hear it for the class of 2013. Almost there. One more round of applause.
Before we get started, I'd like to remind everybody to please turn off your cell phones, if possible. Thank you. So, President Kuhn, the candidates for degrees and certificates have been assembled. The faculty members are in their places, and the trustees and officials are present. And not only that, the Lieutenant Governor is present. There you go. So, the 86th annual commencement exercise of the College of Marin is officially in session. Please stand for the national anthem. Thank you. Please, everybody be seated.
I actually got kind of excited because I thought that might be for me. Family, friends, graduates, alumni, and honored guests, on behalf of the entire College of Marin community, I extend to you all a warm welcome to the 86th annual commencement ceremony honoring this graduating class of 2013. My name is David Wayne Kuhn, and I am honored to serve as the Superintendent President of the College of Marin. It is my pleasure now to introduce an important group of individuals who are very committed to our community and to our students, the members of the Marin Community College District Board of Trustees. Please stand as I call your name. Diana Conti, Barbara Dolan, Dr. Eva Long, Dr. James Namnath, Stephanie O'Brien, Wandine Traynor, and student trustee Scott Blood. Thank you, trustees, for your continued support of College of Marin. We know you spend many hours working to support the mission of the college. How about a big round of applause for the trustees? I would now like to introduce our other special guests seated before you. Please hold your applause until all have been introduced. Would you please stand and remain standing when your name is called? Jonathan Eldridge, Vice President for Student Services. Carrie Torres, Interim Dean of Instruction. Sarah McKinnon, Academic Senate President. Alice Deely, Classified Senate President. And Lance Reyes, Associated Students of College of Marin President. I thank you each for your continued support and your ongoing commitment to the success of our students. Many people have worked hard in preparation for this evening's ceremony. I would like to draw your attention to their names on page 28 of your program. And will the members of the Commencement Committee, under the leadership of Dr. Arnulfo Cedillo, please stand and be recognized. Thank you all for your hard work. As we begin our commencement exercises, I would like to first acknowledge the faculty and staff who are retiring. This year, 43 faculty and staff have decided to leave us to begin the next chapter of their lives, a near generation of employees. You can find their names on pages 23 through 26 in the commencement program. With a combined total of 1,166 years of service among them, I would like to ask those here this evening to stand and be recognized. On behalf of the thousands of students whose lives you have touched, we thank you. We can do better than that. 1,166 years. That's it. Yeah. I think we're starting to work together here. This is working for me. Thank you. We are here this evening to celebrate the achievements of these graduates. However, we also know that most achievements are not accomplished alone. Parents, spouses or partners, children, other family members, friends, and mentors all have played a significant role in our graduate success. I join this graduating class in extending to you a heartfelt note of thanks. Your very presence here this evening is symbolic of the strength these graduates carry with them in this and in future accomplishments. Graduates, please stand if you are able, face all of these tremendous supporters, and let's give them a big round of applause. Okay, grads, enough love. Sit down. I also want to recognize our faculty, staff, and administration. I join this graduating class in congratulating and thanking you for keeping the interests and needs of our students your #1 priority. You have done an outstanding job of delivering a high quality of education. These graduates here today are a reflection of your fine work. I particularly want to thank and express gratitude to the faculty. Some are relatively new to the college. In fact, 22 are completing their first full year with us. Will those 22 that are here please stand up? The newbies. We're so happy you're with us, and we appreciate all that you're doing. You know, while others have been here for many years, in fact, we have one who is completing his 53rd full year of teaching at the College of Marin. Is Dickern here with us? Dickern. Let's give Dickern a round of applause. The faculty's passion for teaching and compassion for our students is evident. Students this evening, I assure you, they are proud of your accomplishments. Now will all the faculty, staff, and administration please stand and be acknowledged. Graduates, it's my pleasure to extend sincere congratulations to each of you. We are here today to applaud your accomplishments because while you may have had help and support, you have reached this point through your own hard work. It is you who have made the sacrifices, you who have remained committed, you who have stayed the course, and you who have attained your goal. And we applaud you for that. I want to share a bit of information about this graduating class. Of the 430 College of Marin students receiving degrees and certificates this year, there are over 150 of you with us this evening. Our youngest graduate is 17 years old, and the most experienced is 73 years young. Now, I don't know if that person's here this evening or not, but if you're feeling Like you want to stand up and take a bow if you're here? Okay. We are awarding 292 Associate in Arts degrees, 101 Associate in Science degrees, and 105, certificates of completion. And thanks to you, that's a 40% increase in degree completion over the last year. Now that's something to celebrate. Thank you.
Good evening. It is my honor to introduce a member of the Marin Community College District Board of Trustees, our student trustee. The presence of a student on the board is both an excellent example of the shared governance we embrace and a reminder of our purpose, the education, advancement, and preparation for civic leadership of our students. Scott Blood has attended College of Marin since fall of 2010. During his time here, he has served as the student body president and now as a student trustee. Over the past 2 years, he has advocated on behalf of students, creating and supporting projects that have increased access to education. He has also been a member of the College of Marin soccer team. Professionally, Scott has worked for almost a decade in the nonprofit sector. He is passionate about education, community, and causes that improve quality of life for people from all backgrounds, including the rural and urban poor, people with disabilities, and at-risk youth. He is currently a soccer coach at an inner-city high school and an administrator at a nonprofit circus school. And right about now, he's making me feel like an underachiever. Scott was recently accepted to UC Davis. Congratulations. Where he plans to study political science with an emphasis on public service and a minor in community and regional development. He hopes this degree will allow him to be of even better service to the communities of which he is a part, and envisions a career creating and implementing policy that maintains and improves the quality of life for all people. Scott grew up in rural Montana, but now, along with his wife Juliet and their son Elijah, are an integral part of this community. Please join me in welcoming to the podium trustee and now College of Marin alumnus, Scott Blood.
Thank you. I'd like to congratulate my fellow graduates. I'm really proud of all of us, so thank you. And on behalf of all of us, I would like to thank our friends and family for your support, because without you, we wouldn't be here today, so thank you. I thought a lot about what I wanted to say today, and knowing that my son would be in the audience, I knew that I wanted to talk about something that I would want him to hear. Because of my background, and because of my experiences, and because of certain things that are ascribed to me, I am not the typical college student. And since I am not the typical college student, even though I went to school, there's a high probability that I wouldn't be successful. And furthermore, as a parent, and the age I was when I became a parent, I was even less likely to be successful. And on top of that, my son was less likely to be successful, especially if I didn't go to college. So I'd like to thank my son for being my inspiration, and I'm very thankful that I've been successful. And the reason I've been successful is because of College of Marin and the programs that they offer here for people like me, along with the amazing staff and the faculty and the leadership from the administration, the Board of Trustees, and President Kuhn. I am a college graduate. And because of that, my son has a lot better chance of being a college graduate. And I know I'm not the only one. I know there are other people, us, who aren't the typical college student. And we can be role models for people with our backgrounds and the communities that we come from to show them that they can be graduates too. So thank you.
Well, it is now my pleasure to introduce the class of 2013 student speaker. Each year, nominations for student speaker are collected and a rigorous process of selection occurs. And while this year the task of deciding on the best student speaker was an arduous and difficult one for the selection committee, one student rose to the top. After high school, our speaker attended Columbia University in New York City. When she became a parent to her beautiful son, she returned to Marin County and enrolled in College of Marin, where she has rekindled her yearning for knowledge and pursuit of her goals in academia. I say return to Marin because Valerie Marquardt was born in Greenbrae, but her story quickly becomes unique as she spent her childhood moving between San Anselmo and the Central American country of Guatemala. She was raised in both cultures and went to high school in Guatemala City. Being a bicultural spectator of world events allowed her to observe two distinct realities, one in the first world and the other in the third. She saw striking differences in political life, social structure, civil rights, and cultural perception. This unique perspective has informed Valerie's time here at College of Marin. Valerie says that at College of Marin she discovered invaluable resources and a supportive community that has inspired her to pursue degrees in business and communications. All those who have had the honor of interacting with Valerie might say that she has been the real inspiration. Valerie will attend the University of San Francisco this fall and continue on her path toward a law degree in human rights. Please join me in welcoming the 2013 College of Marin student speaker, Valerie Marquardt.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Eldridge. I am honored and terrified to be before you as the opening act to our Lieutenant Governor. So why are we here today? Not because of our fancy headwear and our robes, but because we are here to celebrate our accomplishment. Today, we graduate. We are a diverse group, different in gender, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, but we can recognize the common threads among us: sacrifice. We have all sacrificed to be here today. One of the great challenges in life, as you know, is to balance your responsibilities, your relationships, your ambition, and your time. Tenacity. We have all had to have tenacity to get where we are today. We have all had moments of self-doubt, where we didn't know if we'd chosen the correct path, where it felt too difficult to go on. But with strength and determination, we pushed through, and here we are. Inspiration. We have all been inevitably inspired to gain wisdom, competency, self-discipline, independent thinking from the faculty, from staff, and importantly, from one another. Support. We must acknowledge the supporters, those who held our hand when we needed it, that let us know that we could go on. Please take a moment again to acknowledge the supporters. Many of us refer to ourselves as works in progress. Many of us fit that definition when we first come here. I came with little expectation, yet knowing that I needed and I wanted something. What I found was the opportunity to educate myself and better my life. I found a supportive community of dedicated educators who cared about me and who treated me with the utmost respect. This gave me faith in myself to go on. I met students from diverse backgrounds who were all in a valiant struggle for their livelihood as I was. I have been inspired every single day on this campus by everyone. I want to thank you all. It forced me to reevaluate my perceptions. It awakened in me a cultural, social, global, and environmental awareness that is part of my character. We can all use our experiences at College of Marin as a catalyst towards our goals, both personal goals and in academia. Education does not only benefit our immediate circumstances, but is part of a collective goal towards a better world. Albert Einstein's words will resonate with many of us here today. He said, "Education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learned in school." We are more than what we learn in textbooks. Education is more than the sum of lectures, quizzes, and exams. At COM, we have gained crucial knowledge and experiences from which to craft our futures. I learned from Professor Pakula that to study business was not only to seek monetary gain, but to understand the mechanisms of the world around me. I will never forget Professor Rusakovsky in his glorious Russian accent, turning math formulas into jingles and singing them to me for an entire semester. I learned from Dr. Jason Lau that dedication and creativity can revitalize a community. And he taught me that learning never stops. It is a lifelong process. Our unique experiences help shape us into the people we want to be. Education gives us the tools to get there. Let us remember this time fondly, with the certainty that it has put us on a positive path. From here, it is our responsibility to face new challenges. After these gowns are put away and our diplomas are hung on the wall, whether you always knew, are discovering, or broadening it, remember to find your purpose, lead with integrity, and contribute to our shared world. As we reminisce about the hurdles we've overcome, let us know we can all be conscious members of our community, breaking barriers, shattering ceilings, and tearing down stereotypes along the way. Example. That is what you are setting here today for your families, your children, and yourself. Your impact will be what you make of it in this world. As Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Let this achievement be the spark to your future greatness. Congratulations to the class of 2013. We did it. We graduate today.
It is my distinct pleasure to be introducing our keynote speaker tonight. However, before that, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I congratulate all of you students on your success today. Okay? Your success is really our only goal. This institution has a noble focus of student success, and you are the products that indicates that we've done our job. Thank you, faculty and staff, for enabling this success. A few words personally now. Graduates, you have now achieved the most economic, fully accredited education you'll ever get in the entire world, okay? You now go forth in a world where there's a lot more choices and someone's gonna have to pay for them, okay? I should know, between my wife and I, we have 6 children. 5 of them have already graduated college. 3 came to the College of Marin. We paid for them all. We got 1 left to go, and I will be breathing a sigh of relief about a year from now, okay? Now, to give you an example of the challenges that you'll be met as you proceed here and possibly move on to a major university, the largest university in the state of California devotes less than 3% of their budget to undergraduate education, all right? That's a whole different focus than what you see here, in which 100% of our effort is your success, all right? So beware. My message to you, having funded many children's educations here, and I know the numbers, is to be careful with your educational finances as you go forward. Don't be afraid to say no to student loans, all right? This month, the number of student loans in the United States has passed the $1 trillion mark. Almost 20% of those loans are in default, 90 days and over. However, you can't get out from those loans. They're like death and taxes. It's inevitable. You can't do it, okay? So what I would like you to consider is be careful with your future. You do not want to now proceed and have $500 to $1,000 a month in debt. That's going to be your primary concern. My kids have cousins that unfortunately they didn't have parents that could pay for their education. And yes, they're not really working the jobs they want. And they're devoting the first 1/3 of their income right now to paying back for their nice 4 years of education, all right? So my message to you is be careful of that. Just don't be afraid to even reach back to institutions like College of Marin, which have wonderful certificate programs that many of you have earned, and you're going to make a wonderful living off of it. Consider doing that before you take out a student loan. Get a nice certificate from a community college like College of Marin, get a decent job, and then take your time to pay all that money for all these huge tuition expenses that you might think that a bachelor's degree is going to benefit you for you. All right? That being said, it is now my distinct pleasure to introduce our 86th College of Marin commencement speaker, the Lieutenant Governor of our great state of California, Gavin Newsom. Our esteemed guest is an author, TV host, former mayor of San Francisco, and now serves as the Lieutenant Governor of California. He is a visionary, an advocate, and a change agent on issues of equality, healthcare, the environment, and open source data. A number of policies that he initiated have been duplicated in cities around the world, and he remains one of the nation's most outspoken advocates for changes in the federal level that will grant equal rights to all. That's not bad, huh? At the age of 34, he was the youngest person elected as mayor of San Francisco in more than a century and was reelected by a second term by more than 73% of the population. Since holding public office, Lieutenant Governor Newsom has advocated for and consistently supported quality public education for Californians. In partnership with students, parents, teachers, administrators, and the private sector, he is committed to preserving the state's internationally recognized public higher education system that produced the future leaders of America. As mayor, he led San Francisco to economic recovery by making the city a center of biotech and clean technology while attracting and keeping startups. During difficult economic times, he balanced 7 consecutive budgets without laying off a single teacher, policeman officer, or firefighter. While serving as mayor of San Francisco, Lieutenant Governor Newsom was one of the few politicians who broke new ground integrating technology, citizenship, and governance, thus launching one of the most high-tech, experimental, and progressive municipalities in the nation. During his tenure as mayor, San Francisco became known as one of the most high-tech, entrepreneurial, and progressive municipalities in the nation. An avid reader and well-known technology evangelist, Lieutenant Governor Newsom recently authored his first book titled Citizenville, which tells the story of how ordinary citizens can use new digital tools to dissolve political gridlock and transform American democracy. As mayor of San Francisco, shortly after establishing the most stringent green building standards in America, San Francisco then achieved the highest rate of recycling and waste diversion in the U.S. Yeah. For launching these groundbreaking programs, Newsom was elected in 2010 as the greenest mayor for a second year. As lieutenant governor, Gavin Newsom continues his environmental work as a member of the State Lands Commission, protecting California's most precious natural resources while balancing the use of lands, waterways, and ports. Today, he works enthusiastically and tirelessly on the benefit of us in issues of equality, the environment, education, homelessness, and health care. It is my truly immense honor to have him with us today. Now, there's a tradition in life that you get the title of the highest title you've ever earned. Now, I note that the governor was out of the country last month, so therefore, this is Governor Gavin Newsom.
Thank you, James. Congratulations, class of 2013. All right. I confess I haven't heard an introduction talk about our great work on recycling in San Francisco in years. It reminds me, little bit off topic by a factor of infinity, but it reminds me, you thought gay marriage was controversial in San Francisco. When I required composting in San Francisco, that was a real controversy. Garbage police coming out, tough stuff. So here's the good news, bad news. Good news is I do not have prepared remarks. The bad news is I do not have prepared remarks. And I know that Dr. Cedillo got me here, said you're going to have to keep this brief so that it is not a memorable speech. Because I am the guy that you're all going to forget in the next few years when you go back. Who the heck was that at our graduation that spoke? But indeed, I'm honored nonetheless to be here as someone with a circuitous connection to College of Marin. I technically graduated from College of Marin. And this is not a particularly good story, and it's not one that if you're representing me in my PR team, you want me to share. But it's the truth. So I went to this other university, Santa Clara, and the only way I got in there was a baseball scholarship. Let's just establish some foundational facts. A good Redwood High School graduate, just down the block. A few of you, I hope, know your audience. I know there's some Drake graduates here, but that's for, oh yeah. Exactly. We'll take that in the back. So I worked through, but I had a difficulty passing this one course a couple of times. And it got to a point where they had all but given up, but decided they needed to increase their percentages. So they let me graduate down at Santa Clara, but with the proviso that I went to College of Marin to pass that course. Back to good news, bad news. You were kind enough to offer that course, and I was, well, compelled, not necessarily good enough to take it, and I didn't pass it. Here's the dot I'm trying to connect. There's a reason I don't have a speech to read. Because it turns out all those years that I was struggling reading and writing, and for that matter, speaking, that I wasn't familiar with the fact that I had something called dyslexia. And exactly, that's a great damn thing, isn't it? It's good to have a learning disability. And because it sure as heck helped me. So I went back to Santa Clara and I said, well, apparently my mom told me she didn't really want me to use this as a crutch. She said, you've got this thing called dyslexia. Maybe that will help. And so I went back and they said, well, why the heck didn't you tell us this? You would never have had to take the course in the first place. Thus, I am a proud graduate of, well, I presumably am a proud graduate of both College of Marin and Santa Clara University. So it's good to be home, class of 2013. All right, here's what I told Valerie and Scott, I said, I'm going to listen to what you have to say because you're going to inspire me about what I want to say. And I listened to Scott talk about his children, and I have 2 kids, and I appreciate, Scott, you reminding us what it's all about, family, and it's about that generational connection. And I listened to what Valerie said when she talked in the opening of her comments about diversity. And I want to connect some dots and, again, not take too much of your time, but hopefully leave something in what I'm about to say that's meaningful to somebody. You know, all the attention this week around Guantanamo Bay and the president's speech yesterday on terrorism, the challenge and struggles with drones and the great tragedy in England and soldier that was killed in an act of terror, and of course what happened in Boston, has brought to fore something you already know, and that is all over the world, nations and people literally are being torn apart because of racial and religious and ethnic controversy that's fueling fanaticism and fueling terror. But I say this, or say that to say this. Valerie reminded me of an incredibly important point. Here we are in California, the most diverse state in the world's most diverse democracy. And I have long believed, and I hope you believe this, I have long believed that the world looks to us to see that it's possible to live together, even in darkness, to advance together, and to prosper together across every conceivable and imaginable difference. That at our best, as a community, as a graduating class, look around. we're not just tolerating our diversity, we're celebrating our diversity. We're celebrating all our interesting and unique differences, but we're uniting around our common humanity, that web of mutuality that Dr. King talks so eloquently about. So the point of saying that is not just to celebrate that principle that I think defines the best of our state in terms of our capacity to live together across those differences, but to make a case about the world that we're living in and the world you're entering into. A world that's no longer connected, as Tom Friedman said in 2005 in his seminal book called The World is Flat, but a world that's now hyper-connected. I had the chance to interview Tom Friedman a few months ago, and Tom just came out with a new book called That Used to Be Us. And I asked him, I said, what world are we living in, Tom? You pose that question rhetorically all the time, so let me ask you this. What world are we living in? What are the trend lines that define this world? And he said, let me explain it this way. You remember my book, The World is Flat? I said, I do. He said, it was a New York Times bestseller. I said, I'm aware of that. He says it was on the New York Times bestseller list in 2005, not that long ago. He says, a book about globalization and technology. He goes, look in the index, look under F, F-A. In 2005, he said, Facebook is not even in there. He said in 2005, Twitter was a sound. The cloud was in the sky. 4G was a parking space. LinkedIn, a prison. Big data was a rapper. Apps were things you filled out to get into the College of Marin. And Skype, for most of us, was a typo. Think about it. Those things did not exist, and they're ubiquitous in our lives today in just 2005. No longer connected, but a hyper-connected world. The rate and change unimaginable just a few years ago. That's the world you're entering into. A world where many are coming to reconcile the fact that the industrial economy is running out of gas. It's running out of steam. Institutions that have served us well for centuries now no longer have the relevance they once had. You think about what's happened in the media industry, in newspapers, with bloggers. It's happened to your local newspaper. Think about what's happened in the music industry. It wasn't that long ago, wasn't it? That we were all buying albums. Now we're buying individual songs because Steve Jobs decided that Sean Parker at Napster and those crazy folks at Metallica may have been onto something and made a deal with the music industry and created that platform that allows us to download those songs. You're seeing the same contours of change in the financial services industry. I have an uncle. You may have an uncle like this as well. You may be that uncle. Talks about the good old days. He's out at the bar, probably at 2 or 3 in the afternoon on his second or third martini. Talking about the good old days in the stock brokerage business, where everyone had to come through him, regardless of the commissions. And then Chuck Schwab came along, and E-Trade came along. Technology radically changed that business. The contours of this change are being felt everywhere. It's not cyclical. It's a punctuation point in history, and you're living through this. No longer connected, but a hyper-connected world. Weren't we all reminded of that in 2008 during that myBarackObama.com campaign? Remember that campaign? 35,000 self-organizing communities coming together across every conceivable difference. Remember, change starts from the bottom up. And the president, to his credit, President-elect Barack Obama said, I want to continue the conversation after Election Day because he recognized one-way conversations are dead. It's all about two-way conversations. And he continued that conversation, and you may recall this vaguely, with a big town hall meeting. And he titled the whole frame and platform, Change.gov. If you were allowed to keep those cell phones on, you can skip ahead and check this out. Google what happened to Change.gov. In fact, on the homepage of Change.gov, it says, let's continue the conversation. We don't want to change the players. We want to change the game. And he said, what's on your mind? 2008, is it the war in Iraq? Is it the war in Afghanistan? Is it the war on terror? Is it the financial meltdown? Or is it climate change? Tell me what you think. Let's have this unprecedented two-way conversation, this virtual and physical town hall during the transition, to mark not just the next 100 days, not just in one term, but 2 terms, no, the next 100 years of our great democracy. And people came together in record numbers. Some of you may have even participated. Those self-organizing communities participating. And they did exactly what Michelle Obama did not but a few months ago, the Academy Awards. In this case, the president-elect opened up the envelope. And what was on your mind? What was the number one priority? Was it that war in Afghanistan, withdrawing our troops, or the war on terror? Was it the issue of climate change? No, the number one issue on your mind during this incredibly important point was legalize marijuana. True story. Some of you were ecstatic. By the way, the president responded almost exactly as you just responded. And the online community didn't think it was so funny because they were quite sincere and serious. So what did the president do? I'm not here to criticize him. He did what a lot of us would do. He turned off the site for reconstruction. Look it up. Change.gov doesn't exist anymore. It was just transitioned into whitehouse.gov. The old website. The bottom-up campaigner became a top-down president. Yes, we can became yes, he can. It's not an indictment, again, of the president. To his credit, he at least asserted a recognition of this. And it got me thinking of the whole issue of leadership. And these are the 2 quick dots I want to connect and end. Because at the end of the day, we're desperate for leadership. Authority does not mean leadership. Think about this. You think about what technology is doing. It's making big things small and small things big. Large, hierarchical, centralized institutions are literally being crushed by self-organizing multi-stakeholders, decentralizing and connecting. Think of what happened with the Facebook youth at Tahrir Square, the Indignados in Spain, the Weibo microbloggers in China, what's happening with the big populist movements, Tea Party, what's left of the Occupy movement. Populism is out there. And you think about that to make this case, this whole idea, and I hope you think about this, of the guy or gal on the white horse to come save the day. If it ever existed, I'm not convinced at all it does exist in the world you're about to enter into. This notion of formal authority, that you have to be something to do something. And I realize that at the end of the day, the constraints of actually governing from a position of authority are remarkably limiting. Contrast that to Dr. Martin Luther King, Václav Havel, Gandhi, Mandela. Think about where they were. Think about Gandhi in 1935. Think about King in 1959 or Mandela in 1985, Havel in 1988. At the peak of their influence during those years, what did they all have in common? At the peak of their influence. One thing, jail time. Just an interesting fact. They changed their countries and the world, but they shared one other thing in common. None of them, at the peak of their influence, had formal authority. They weren't elected to those positions, but they exercised their moral authority, which every single one of you have the capacity at any single moment to exercise. Mandela served only 1 term and struggled governing when he exercised formal authority. Václav Havel, the philosopher president who wrote The Power of the Powerless, talked eloquently and wrote eloquently for years of his struggle to actually govern once he was elected. Every single one of you have the capacity to lead. And with these tools of technology to connect like-minded people in a way none of those exceptional leaders had as a capacity. So please, as you enter into whatever it is you're doing next, this world desperately needs people to step up and step in with authenticity to lead. Next point. I've been thinking about the secret of success and what that big idea is all about. And I'm reminded of a great story. You may, just this very brief, you may recall this. In 2004, in the fall of 2004 in Death Valley, hottest place in the United States, doesn't ever rain. Something remarkable happened in 2004. 6 inches of rain fell in Death Valley. What was even more remarkable is in the spring of 2005, the entire Death Valley was blanketed, carpeted with beautiful wildflowers. People had never seen this. 100+ years and never seen anything like this. Turns out Death Valley wasn't dead, it was dormant. It was waiting for the right conditions to come along. That the seeds of possibility were always there, waiting for the right conditions to come along. And when the right conditions do come along, success is inevitable. It happens. To wit my point. Your capacity to do extraordinary things, when you think, well, I'm just not that special, I'm not that capable, I'm not that gifted, I'm not that endowed, I'm not that smart, I'm not that curious, I'm just not that person, I'm not a leader. My argument to you is what lies dormant inside of you. And the only way to discover it is to fail more often. The secret of all success, Winston Churchill said this. You may even want to write this down. It's Winston Churchill, after all. Said the secret of all success is moving from failure to failure with enthusiasm. Pretty nice. I'm going to close with 2 quick points on this. I believe in that principle so much. I have a small business. I got about 1,000 employees, about 17 small businesses. I say that not to impress you, but impress upon you this point. I believed in that so much that I decided to create a failure award in my business. I actually reward the biggest screw up every single month. I'm not kidding. We give a big bonus to the person that screws up the most. You should come work for me. I got a little hotel, very quick, and I know my time's up. I got a small little hotel up in Lake Tahoe. It was built in 1959 for the Winter Olympics. The delegates were going to stay there. It was supposed to be torn down after the '60 Olympics. It's still around, holding together, duct tape and all. We don't have an air conditioning system. So what we have to do during the summers up in Lake Tahoe is we got to keep a lot of the windows open and the doors to the hallways open. Now, for years and years, I had this wonderful guy named Ludo, who was my engineer. He had never once called me. He called me down in San Francisco in a panic. He says, I don't know what the heck this is. And I'm like, Ludo, what? Just calm down. 6:30 in the morning. I'm like, Ludo, what's it? He said, I just got here. I said, what? He said, well, this is the damnedest thing. There are fish tails. There are bones everywhere. There's eyes. I don't know if we've been vandalized, something's been broken in. I don't know. I'm like, Ludo, just figure this thing out. He goes, I'm going to figure it out. I said, thank you. Get back to me. And he hangs up, and I'm sitting there going, what the heck is going on? 30 minutes later, he goes, I figured it out. He says, you know that guy, Scotty? I said, what, our night clerk? He goes, yeah, the night clerk. You know, those guys that come in at 11 o'clock at night, and you're digging the thing to wake this guy up at 2, 3 in the morning. Well, it turns out he was so frustrated with the complaints about all the mosquitoes during those hot summer months that he decided on his own to go out and buy some catfish and put them in the little ponds that are all around our hotel, figuring smartly that's where the larva is of the mosquitoes. So he put these catfish in there, just did it on his own, and called it a day. Left at 5 in the morning, end of his shift, took off. And it turns out, Ludo tells me, Scotty did this, and he needs to be fired. I said, what are you talking about? Well, he goes, well, remember I mentioned all the fish parts everywhere. Well, here's what happened. He said, turns out this idiot put those things in the ponds, and the raccoons went after the fish. And this feast, like the last, nothing they've ever imagined. all these fish captured in one place. They were so delirious, so exceptionally enthusiastic, they started running down the halls of the hotel in delirium with body parts of these fish being thrown and all over the place. You need to fire him. And I said immediately, we need to give him a bonus. And my failure award was literally born with that experience. Secret of all success is moving from failure to failure with enthusiasm. Don't make the mistakes again, however, class of 2013. Here's my final point. I had this guy, Michael Pritchard. He's an old friend of mine. He told me this just the other day. He was a huge supporter of the Special Olympics. And this connects the opening dot, if that fact we're all in this together. He was talking about this very quick story about this race. And there was 5 folks assembled, 1-lap race. And this, clearly one woman in this race had an advantage. Her name was Judy. And she takes off. And she's halfway done before the other girls are even a quarter of the way done. And she's running along, and people are excited, jumping up and down, saying, well, keep going, Judy. You got it. The gold medal. You got the gold medal. You got it. Keep running. Keep going. Keep going. And then she slowed down, and then she stopped. And people are like, well, you're almost there. You're 3/4 of the way done. You're so far ahead of everyone else. She said, no, I got this. They said, come on, now, hurry up, Judy. Please come. Run. You're almost there. You got it. She goes, nope. And she stood there, and she waited for all the other runners to make their way. And she did something remarkable that is an example of leadership and a reminder to all of us what life is all about. She puts out both arms, and she puts everyone hand to hand, and she walks with all of the folks together across the finish line. An example of humility, an example of leadership. And it's just a reminder of this, that the world is too small, our wisdom is too limited, our time on this earth is too short to win fleeting victories at other people's expense. Class of 2013, it's time for all of us to triumph together. Congratulations.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees of the College of Marin, we'd like to award this Certificate of Appreciation, and is hereby awarded. Now I'm going to give you his title again. It is Governor Gavin Newsom. You better get used to it. Okay, so thank you very much, Gavin.
I appreciate it.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good evening. President Kuhn, it is an honor to present the candidates for the degree of Associate in Arts. Will the candidates for the degree of Associate in Arts please rise and remain standing? President Kuhn, it is an honor to present the candidates for the degree of Associate in Science. Will the candidates for the degree of Associate in Science please rise and remain standing? President Kuhn, it is an honor to present the College of Marin's candidates for Certificates of Achievement. Will the College of Marin candidates for Certificates of Achievement please rise and remain standing? President Kuhn, these candidates have satisfactorily completed the necessary requirements as set forth by the Board of Trustees of College of Marin and are to be awarded Associate in Arts degrees, Associate in Science degrees, and Certificates of Achievement.
By order of the Board of Trustees and by virtue of the authority vested in me, I now confer upon these candidates in the Associates in Arts degree, Associate in Science degree, and certificates and career certificates, and admit them to the honors, rights, privileges, and obligations pertaining thereto.
President Kuhn, it is an honor to present the Marin County Office of Education candidates for the certificates of completion. Will the Marin County Office of Education candidates for the certificates of completion please rise and remain standing?
It is my honor to recognize those candidates from the Marin County Office of Education who have completed the certificate of completion. Now a round of applause. There we go. Will all of the candidates please be seated?
When directed by commencement marshals Reitz and Schultz, graduates will come forward to receive their notification of degrees and certificates from College President Kuhn and Trustee President Namnath.
Valerie Ann Marquardt. Scott Blood. Carlos Aguirre. Marco Alfonso. Adrian Auer. Elizabeth Axworthy. Kasim Azam. Nadia Bazinski. Joseph Blanco. Jeremy Brunet. Frank Cow. Nicholas Carter. Moises Chavez. Mariana Chineato. Sonam Choden. Marissa Cooper. Elizabeth Cowan. Paul Cretin. de Feliz. Bianca de Leon. Carolyn Doyle. Jerome Draper. Melissa Duarte. Samuel Edelman. Michael Esquivel. Barry Foster. Claire Frausto. Caitlin Gomola. Danielle Gunterman. Andres Guzman. Sharon Hanstra. Jennifer Harrison. Rachel Hartshorn. Rebecca Haverla. Roberto Hernandez. Erica Heiler. Gabriela Blanc. John Hudnall II. Umar Ismail. Christine Isotalo. Rhoda Jago. Sean Kipnis. Honor Knudsen. Reza Color. Trunta Kosi Chaimonkol. Gabriela Torre. Nokan Lee. Viviana Yetget. Amy Lopez Baca. Alma Machuca. Ian Mason. William Matthews. Edward McCauley. Ashley McGuire. Danielle Mendoza. Elika Momeni. Mia Moore Arauz. Patricia Nedig. Chelsea Neville. Leonard Nganga. Ross Oliver. Carlo Padula. Sofia Paganini. Congratulations. Hugo Palmera.
Good to see you again.
Very nice. Simone Pasquinelli. Michelle Ribolli. Angelina Ross. Maud Solonon. Our star softball pitcher, Samantha Schilling. Jennifer Schwager. Ainsley Shea. Sarah Shea. Sasha Sherman. Kelly Shore. Naisha Simpson. Matthew Smith. Karen Strolia. Dominic Suvana Supa. Stephanie Swalberg. Jesse Sylvester. Janet Tunches. Benjamin Thompson. Mami Tomoda. Sonam Charing. Neftali Tuyo. Kelly Jean Underwood. Fernanda Vivas. Nuno Vungo. Tyler Warner.
Thank you very much.
Mauricia Williams. Sabrina Willis. Henry Wright. Catherine Boyd. Christine Burton. Mia Camera. Stephanie Farin. Luis Figueroa. Mei Fang Gao. Andrew Gawaski. Erika Maricela Hernandez. Karina Medeiros. Connie Mena. Catherine McCallion. Leslie Myers. Hang Nguyen. Fernando Oliveira. Devin Paley. Clean up well. Vanessa Peace.
Thank you.
David Sandoval. Luis Celine. Thank you. Eric Stolte. Michelle Shui. Josue Betancourt. Maribel Cabrera Borlos. Carson Campbell. Isabel Carlos Cari. Monica Cook. Janelle Dent. Erlyn Diaz. Dana Dodson. Yenny Flores. Susan Hughes. Julie Hurtado. Ronald Jones. Luz Llama. Rosa. Linda Miramontes. Mukesh Oja. Jonathan Pineda. Emily Pounder Dunbar. Susan Price. Vincent Ramos. Anu Radha Sharma. Virna Trinidad. Karen Renee Votes. Marisol Zamaripa. Davis Finch. Barry Tillotson.
Nice job. Congratulations. Good job.
Devery Nemeth.
Congratulations, Deborah. Good job.
Alexander McQuilkin. Bailey Miller. Alan Gonzalez. Alan Esper.
At this time, all graduates may move their tassels to the left side of their caps. Ladies and gentlemen, I present the class of 2013. Congratulations.
Graduates, you have enriched us with your presence. I applaud each of you, and with you go my fondest hopes for your happiness and immense success in all that you do. Although you are graduating and moving on, you will join the thousands of College of Marin alums who have come before you. You are always welcome here, and we look forward to hearing of your many successes. Congratulations.
All right. The 86th annual commencement is concluded. Will the audience please rise and remain standing in honor of the graduates of the class of 2013?
One more sentence.
Okay. Excuse me. A reception has been set up to honor the graduates, family, and friends out to my right, just outside the main entrance. Please join me as we honor our graduates as they walk out first. Thank you very much. Congratulations.